story?
If you or
Oh,
Kristen
okay.
mind,
I'll tell you a little story. Okay, do you want to come over here? I'm going to tell you about the potato war. Once upon a time, there was a person called Squid Kid, and he farmed potatoes every day. So much so that across the town, across cities, across the world, he was known as the #1 potato farmer. And then, one day, a new challenger approached. His name was Technoblade. And Technoblade, or Techno as his friends would call him, didn't like to be beaten by people. He liked to be #1 in everything. So he set out to become the #1 potato farmer and grinded every day. He also installed a few wiretaps, illegally, potentially breaking a few laws, spying, various different methods of espionage to find out more information about Squid Kid. Kidding, Chai never did espionage. I'm just trying to make it more dramatic. He was going to win no matter what. And soon enough, he eventually passed Squid Kid in potatoes. Was that the end of the war? Not quite. But during the war, he'd made a new friend and brought to light a player who had gone unnoticed for quite some time and allowed him to flourish and have a community of his own. End of part 1. This is part 2 of the potato war featuring Technoblade and Squid Kid. Now, victorious from the potato war, the great potato war, Technoblade sits upon his throne and laughs at Squid Kid. He even got Squid Kid to change the little #1 on his island to #2 because he was the second best now. Techno was #1. But the war was not over. For you see, currently there was no limit to how many potatoes you could farm. So he had to keep the lead. He had to stay ahead, and he would do it by any means necessary. Techno had alt accounts, one of which was called Whitelisted, that would just sit on Squid Kid's island, AFKing and spying on him. But Squid Kid found out. Squid Kid was smarter than he looked. After hearing this, and after finding out that Techno had put a fake account on his island and discovered his secrets and was spying on him, Squid Kid locked his island from anyone. He locked it. But Techno had a plan. Techno knew of multiple things that could help him in the potato war. So he continued farming and continued collecting resources and got himself a rabbit pet, which apparently boosted his stats for collecting potatoes by like 30% for some reason. It was really stupid, and he upgraded the pet and it got him even more potatoes. It made no sense. But he kept on grinding. He kept grinding, farming potatoes so much that when he took a nap, he woke up not knowing how much time had passed and looked at his potatoes and knew by how much they had grown it had been 4 hours. So he continued farming potatoes into the night. The Squid Kid was gaining on him, and he had to think of something. End of part 2. Part 3. In Technoblade's potato war, they were farming potatoes so much they were losing their minds. They were going insane. Techno and Squid Kid were just slowly losing their sanity. There was multiple different times where Squid Kid thought he was in the lead, but he actually wasn't, and Techno was in the lead, and it came down to them deciding. They came to a truce. They came to a mutual agreement, because they would have just kept farming potatoes endlessly without a final goal. So they set a goal: 500,000 potatoes. The first person to reach it will be crowned the winner. So they got to it. They farmed. They researched. They farmed some more. Techno was putting in 8 to 12 hours a day some days, just constantly farming potatoes. He found out that the rabbit's pet would boost your potato farming by, I think, 13%, but it was bugged, so it was kind of busted. Then he also found out that having somebody else's pet show up on your island took priority from your pet, so you were getting a certain amount, and then somebody showed up to AFK on your island and it ruined it. We didn't let Squid Kid know that, because as he says, and as Sun Tzu says, all war is deception. There were multiple things that Techno lied about in his previous videos to catch Squid Kid off guard. He lied about how he was farming potatoes. He lied about how many potatoes he had at the time, and secretly was gaining a huge distance on potatoes farmed versus Squid Kid. Before Squid Kid could find out and realize, it was too late. Techno had won the potato war, reaching 500,000 potatoes, 500,000 potatoes farmed. Famously, he did consider not helping. Famously, he did consider not going out for his father's medicine because he wanted to keep farming potatoes. But then he thought to himself, I want God to hesitate. I want him to hesitate just a little bit, because he was an atheist. But if he was going to go to heaven, he wanted him to hesitate for a second, you know, just before he just threw him down to hell for not getting his dad's medicine. But he did. He went and got the medicine. He got the medicine for him. He's not a monster, you know. So anyway, that's the story. That's the summary of how the potato war ended and how Techno became the #1 potato farmer. I hope you enjoyed that story, Cheyenne. I shrunk it down a little bit. There was a lot that I've left out because it would be a long story, but I kept the best bits.